but this may be fun. Hey guys, welcome back. So it's been a year since you've seen this project. We had every intention last year to pull this Hemi out of that 41 Willys known as PPC or Pepper Pulpit Chef, and we were going to get it right back together.
Something happened.
That's called waiting on parts and other projects hopped in its place. But check out this Hemi right here. We'll tell you more about it in a minute. You just rebuilt it.
Just freshened it up.
So on his channel, if you go to his channel, Hot Rods by Dennis Taylor, you can see him take this all apart. But in this video, it's finally time. We're throwing this thing in there, new transmission, third member, lots of parts from Speedway, and we're gonna be really close to making this thing run. But anyways, let's get into it. All right, that thing got a Hemi in it?
It does. No, it doesn't.
It's about to. So you just rebuilt this. We talked a little bit about it last year, but let's do a refresher. If you want to watch the actual video of the rebuild, you can go to his channel, Hot Rods by Dennis Taylor. Rebuilt it, but give a little overview real quick.
So this is a really, really nasty 392. One of the best on iron block 392s. Billet crank, billet aluminum rods, Venolia pistons. I mean, billet oil pump. This thing is triple badass.
It's really nice. We were talking about it, like he was talking about all the stuff that's done to it. And it's one of those where it's like, and it makes
1,000 horsepower.
maybe 1,000 horsepower.
It's kind of sad, but that's what it took back in the day.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
I mean, it's honestly built way better than they were back in the day.
But let me flip this around real quick. Hang on. All right, so that's a good looking motor.
Yeah, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance,
Baffle them?
with bull poop. That's kind of what it is. It looks like 10,000 horsepower sitting there, and it's only a tenth of that.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
It is really cool. So the plan last year originally when we pulled this out was that you were just going to kind of take it apart and look at it.
I even decided to not even take it apart. So the whole reason for taking it apart was we thought it was hurt. We get into it and find that a spark plug was dead.
And one piece of dog food was in there somehow.
Yeah, well, that came later. But one thing I wanted to do was the deck on the block had been milled, and it was milled, looked like with a bastard file. I mean, it was rough. And the head gaskets had trouble sealing. So I wanted to straighten that up, and I took it apart so we could put it in the mill and redeck it.
And the mill. You put it in the mill.
I did put it in the mill.
You did not put it in the mill.
I put it in the manual mill.
You guys got to go to his video and watch that.
That's an inside joke, but you'll get it.
You gotta go to his video and watch because it was a lot of manual labor. There was no mill, but I think you guys would benefit from watching it because it shows you can do something. But like you can pretty much do anything.
It shows how good you can work with old school tools.
It's very interesting. But anyways, it was a good thing. Went ahead and took it apart because there ended up being collapsed rings. There was a couple things in there that you found that you changed. So it went from just coming out and not really getting anything done to it to it got fully refreshened.
Yeah, it didn't get new bearings. It had the bearings look like new. It just got new rings, and it only really needed the top ring. But they had collapsed, probably temperature. They were a different kind of ring. They were the wrong ring for the engine, actually.
But he talked to Total Seal. They got a set straightened out for this and got them in. So anyways, really, really good looking motor here that's getting ready to go in that.
You're kind of taking pictures of my motor like it's a object.
I like it.
Like going up and down. My motor's getting a little embarrassed.
I'm giving it the look.
It's a beauty. It is a thing of beauty. I really care for it, even though I hate it.
He hates it so much.
I hate this thing, but I have a love-hate relationship with it.
You do. He was, as he was building it, he said, I hate Hemis. But then he looks at it together, he's like, it looks really good.
That's the whole thing. It's I could say it. I don't know if I should. It's kind of like some women. They get by with murder because they look so good. It's kind of like this. It doesn't have to perform. It just has to look good.
It's like Mika. We were talking about her. She's cute. She doesn't do.
For Mika being so beautiful, there'd be a bounty on her.
She doesn't do anything, but
She doesn't care.
She's pretty.
She just got finished being a bad dog.
She did. She went to the creek. So anyways, we are getting ready. In this video, we're going to install that into this. We have a new GearStar transmission to go in there. We've got a new Quick Performance third member to go in here. And we've also got tons of Speedway parts right over here to go in this. So I think we should probably get to it.
I think we should. I'm anxious to put all these piles into one pile.
I see what you want. You want room, space,
I want
clean
one
area.
Pile.
One pile of junk. All right, so while this looks like it's all the way together and complete, actually waiting on push rods currently. Are you waiting on anything else? Just push rods, right?
Yeah, so they sent another set of push rods, and they were perfectly the right length, except they didn't have holes in each end for it to oil the push rods. Typically, Hemi doesn't, but we have to have them, and they knew that, but they failed.
So push rods will be here, so once this is already installed, he'll put those in. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and take blower off so that way we can lift it, put it in there. And we just realized we need that.
Our hoist in.
We need that, and we just moved everything there. So let's move it again.
If I could raise it up, I would, but I can't.
Very inconvenient. Going in.
Huh?
I was talking to the people.
People don't care.
They're watching. So this was ready to go in, but then steering's in the way. Forgot that was off last time. This sucker looks heavy though.
It's like 8 million pounds.
How much do you actually think it weighs?
Maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 100. With the blower and stuff, it's not that heavy now. There. 1 million pounds is what it weighs. Okay, we can go down and then back.
Okay, down. Okay. Alright, we're clear to go back. We need to tilt back.
Yeah, we do. Let's see, that's got to come this way. It's hitting the steering up front.
It's stuck on the studs are catching on the firewall. There we go. Okay. That looks like you can drop it down now. You need to go back just a little bit.
It'll probably go back when I drop it down.
Okay.
Okay, it's
not really lined up.
Too much tilt now. It's coming though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting there.
Watch your motor plate bolts too.
Okay, that's pretty darn good.
It is. Let's get some bolts.
That looks good right there. All mine are lined up.
Here's, I assume, I think that's one, that's one. You get two.
It smells like grape.
It smells like old gas.
It smells like, no, it smells like grape. Ow.
I cannot see in there to tell. Man, mine's very close. Looks like the motor needs to come down just a skosh.
Mine's like,
I'm in.
yeah, same.
Amazing.
This looks so much better than when it came out.
It was corroded.
It looks good. Hey, at least this is all clean. You didn't have to do that again this time.
The polish.
Yeah.
That's so hard to do. So we got to get bolts for this front mount, and that's, I don't see them over here. I don't know what those are for. They're going to be about like this, but those are brand new bolts. Those were not in there. Oh, here's some more. No, that's not them. I think there's something missing. Somebody stole some of our stuff. Let's see. Those are intake bolts. I think. Yeah, those are intake bolts. So we got to use what's here on this table. That's all that's left. Well, it's not those fine thread bolts because I wonder if it's those. See if that's long enough. Maybe that's what those two are. That's them.
Okay.
But that's an awful. I guess it had that little 3/8 bolt, which is enough.
So it looks like it had a bigger washer.
Does it?
Yeah. No, that's right. Never mind.
It's almost gotta be those.
Puck shifted.
Your puck's not in.
Can you raise it up just a little?
I hope that's the right puck.
It is.
It's got a different imprint than what that is.
Maybe it's not. It looks right. We lost
I'm
the
gonna
pucks.
come down.
Okay.
What we gotta do is raise the car up and see if it's sitting in line.
Nice.
Let's let it down and take the hoist off, and then let's raise the car up. We can tighten those bolts up. That's how you put a Hemi in a race car.
That thing got Hemi?
A little easier than most things.
Yes, it does.
Let's raise it up and check out the. So what's going to happen if the motor's a little bit low in the front? The plates that are welded on the frame and the motor plate's going to be like that. If it's too high, it'll be like that. That seems to be sitting as flat as it could be. These brackets are welded on the frame. If the motor was tilted down in the front, there would be gap up here. If the pucks were too tall, there would be gap down here. It wouldn't just be sitting in there flush like it is if those weren't right. And we weren't sure because they were put away in the bolt bin instead of with the bolts that the car had when we took it apart. I don't know why they got put away. So I'm going to tighten all these bolts up because they're ready to tighten up. And then if we want, we can go get a transmission and put it in. Because if it lines up, sits on those motor mounts perfect, then everything's aligned perfect.
How exciting. Okay.
So let's do that.
All right, so GearStar is something acquired from Hot Rod Garage World. So when I first came there, everything we did had a GearStar. Well, except for the very first one. I got to build the first transmission for bone marrow. But then after that, because I thought that's what you did, then after that, everything was GearStar for the most part.
Jake did one for the Savoy.
Jake did do one for the Savoy. GearStar was backed up on that. But anyways, GearStar is, we used them a lot. And then the guys over at GearStar, even before Hot Rod Garage went away, they were on board to help us with projects, which don't get it twisted. Jake is still he's still a friend, and we still refer to him for different advice and stuff for like the high horsepower stuff. But for all kinds of stuff like this and just in general, GearStar is awesome. So this is one of the pieces we were waiting on. So we have a power glide that they built, yank converter, and we're gonna unbox it.
Let's do it.
Funny enough, already got a trans cooler with a fan from Speedway, but GearStar also sends one with their transmissions.
I think we can find a place for it.
All right, you've probably unboxed one of these, right?
Nope.
Okay, I want you to unbox that.
Unbox that transmission?
In the most.
How about I unbox the box and then we set the transmission out?
But do you know the fastest way to do it?
No.
I did it wrong every time. I'll still do it wrong.
The sides, you unscrew it and lift it up.
Yeah.
Well, you show me how.
I'm still gonna mess it up.
She's not messing it up. She knows which screws. It's like one of those drawers that you have to pull a drawer, take a key, open another drawer. You know, it's a puzzle. There's another screw somewhere right there. I can't see. I think they buried it.
Oh, it's right there.
Oh, nice. Go to this side. Just
Let me get this guy over here. Hang on. You guys probably want to watch, right? Okay.
Okay, where are you here? Set it up there. Ta-da!
Look, a new table. All right. Very nice. Okay, we got fluid. That is one thing that they do. They send fluid with.
Nice. Very nicely packaged too, all stapled together.
Do you want to keep that bag?
I do.
I figured.
Of
I tried to
course.
keep it every time.
Go underneath it. And it's not like you're going to get that bag just anywhere. Oh. Look at that. Beautiful.
SFI approved case and bell housing. We're running a mid plate, 180 gear ratio, rated for 1200 horsepower.
And that's probably just about what we could make on max boost.
All right, we're going in with it. So, do you feel weird not building it?
Yeah, this is kind of like Hot Rod Garage. You get pre-assembled stuff.
It's very weird. Very weird here. So, there's a couple special things about this specific setup because, one, we're doing Chevy to Hemi, Mopar. So, you have an adapter plate.
Yep.
And that's something that you built or got years ago?
I bought it, but I don't remember where.
So it's this plate right here, which we're getting ready to have this soon with the 34, but this plate.
We need another one. If you guys have one,
Tell us where to go.
we could use it.
Yeah. So with that, you had to give GearStar a couple specific measurements.
Yeah, they got to know the pilot. They have to know the depth. So the old converter that we had in here, I kept. And incidentally, I also found that old converter was broken after we took it out. So that's one reason at the end of this thing, the car was acting funny. But so I had something to give them the specs. They want to know the height of it and everything about it.
So it's going up. We're going to trial fit it, which I know it's just, you think, oh, you just throw it in there. But there is a lot of things that could potentially not work.
Nothing's ever that easy. So for instance, like that, what you're looking at the back of the crankshaft, that's not actually the back of the crankshaft. That's an adapter that I made. I think I actually welded that on the crankshaft to work with the back of that Hemi crankshaft is flat. So it doesn't like this sort of thing.
So it's all a little bit custom. So we're going to put it in, see if it works. And if it does, we'll be happy campers.
Yeah, buddy. Well, it barely went through that goofy floor.
I think you could have made the opening a little bigger. You're caught on that stud. Okay, keep going. Hang on, you're caught on this stud.
Yeah, that needs to be reworked.
So you're good on this side. This side needs to come down just a little. Nice, it's like a power glide was in here before.
It almost like the same. Okay, it's hitting that. Okay, see up there at the top?
Yeah,
we're gonna have to probably open the door, get a screwdriver, reach up there and pop that angle piece up just a little bit. Right there, my removable trans tunnel. If I pull it back and you get the gap there.
There, try that. Okay. Yeah, just push in. You should be good.
No, that didn't do it. There. Is that in?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
If you had some hardware, I could.
Yeah, let me get some.
Hello.
How many do you need?
I could do 4. All right, transmission is not all the way in. We got a bolt converter up, but got distracted.
Give me a minute.
can't look at
Get
him.
beautified.
Okay, are you good now?
Yeah.
Okay. So after sitting for a drink break, tried to decide what else we might need. So we started talking about things we could do, and I was like, oh, fuel system. Then you said we have one bracket. What'd you say?
I said we got to buy a bracket, a pump drive bracket for it.
Yeah, but you said because we have one bracket that we share with 3 vehicles.
3 cars, yeah.
So,
3 cars, 1 bracket.
3 cars, 1 bracket. Does not work. It's currently on the 55. So anyways, decided to go ahead and get out the Aeromotive fuel pump that we got from Speedway Motors. And would you tell the people what you're doing?
Well, I thought that the bracket that we were missing would bolt right to this pump. I don't need 2 Allen bolts in the same hole, I see. So, you know, I hadn't looked at the pump really much since we got it. And most pumps have a 3-bolt flange on the front of them. And the bracket that I need, and they're usually hex drive, and the bracket that we need has this pulley, a bearing, and kind of this bracket up here on it. Well, you know, that's what I expected to see when she brought it to me, but then when we get it out there, it looks like this. So this is adjustable in and out, has its own bracket, and it has, I gotta put a little space here. It has its own bracket and it slides in and out, and it kind of works with the car. So what I'm doing now is I'm just mocking it up. I'm tightening these bolts up. There's a keyway in there. It's not a hex shaft like what I'm used to, Hillborn or Enderley type pumps. So there's that. Now let me get, do you have the other out of there?
It's laying behind that drill on this side.
That's not the one.
No, then I don't.
Where'd it go? Okay, so it's up here. All right, so all I did was I just put 1 bolt in our old bracket. The old pump used to slide in and out, and that's the way the bracket's made. It would slide in and out toward the crankshaft. Well, this one's going to swing, which is a little bit inconvenient because
and that's to tighten it up and get tension on.
Yeah, when you
belt.
put your belt on.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, like with the 55, we take that on and off. I take it on and off every day.
But you won't be with this.
This one, no. This one's going to go on and it's going to stay on.
So this little ear was already welded on the frame, so you're probably just gonna modify that.
Going to add another ear to its ear, and then I can turn this. Let me roll this belt around. I think this is the inlet side. Yeah, that's the inlet side, that's the outlet side. So that's kind of, I'm just mocking it up. So see, this has got adjustability. It'll slide in and out to line that bracket up. I'm gonna actually get a wrench and tighten that up there. It's not the right setup, but it's a good mock. Let me grab a couple 1/2-inch wrenches.
So for those curious, this is part number 17140 that we got from Speedway.
Dude, look how straight that is when everything's tightened
yeah.
up. So literally all I have to do is weld another little bracket onto this one and put another bolt in this hole so it can slide up and down or rotate up and down. But that's how nice that works.
That's
right
nice.
there.
Okay, so that's not going to be a big deal.
That was really pretty easy.
All right.
A lot of this stuff works like that.
We did not anticipate. The reason this conversation got started was because we did not think that we were going to be able to do the fuel system right at this moment.
Yeah, we can mount the fuel tank, make the hoses, put the filter, because we got another bracket that goes across here. We put the big, you also got a big Aeromotive
Yeah,
filter
it's
on
over
it.
here.
Let's take a look at it. So this is the filter that we're going to stick. It used to be hose clamped to the frame. So
That's part number 12341. Creative part number 12341.
you know, I'm just sitting here thinking, we don't even run a filter on the 55. This, I had a big, giant filter on it, bigger than this one. I'm almost tempted to not run it at all. You know, as long as your fuel is clean, which our fuel is always clean, it's kind of a restriction going into that pump.
Because we did have a filter.
We have a post filter on
not
the
a
55.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We don't have a pre-filter going into the pump, but on this one, I guess we could run a post filter right out of the top of the pump. We'll look at that. We might do it differently than what I had before. I don't really like sucking through the filter. That's what we're doing.
Restrictive.
Before. So we may not run a filter, but whatever the case is, the pump works good.
Okay, well that's nice. All right, so now back to transmission and getting
what do you call it? You distracted me.
Distracted.
Detracted, detoured. I got everything but the right word.
Distracted, but we'll get that bolted up, and then we'll be waiting on third member, and then we can put drive shaft in.
I can't wait. Can't wait to put the drive shaft back in, the third member in, clean all this up, you know, make sure the brakes are still working or do whatever we need to do there. It's almost ready for you to go do Papa Wheelies.
You gotta build headers first.
Oh, I also got to do something. We don't have Papa Wheelie bars on it anymore.
So our GearStar transmission, our power glide, and our yank torque converter is in. It's bolted up, works well, right?
Yep. Beautiful.
Yeah, so quick little tech tip or info tip for you guys. I'm gonna flip this around. So currently bolting the ladder bars up right now because they're attached to the transmission cross member, but Dad gave me a piece of information which I did not know and you guys might find interesting. Hang on.
Okay, so I was telling her that this is old school technology. This is the way it was done back in the 60s. And, you know, people didn't have everything figured out. Some did. I don't want to knock them because somebody will say their grandpa did it this way and did the same thing. And they might have. But I've seen a lot of stuff that didn't work. The longer the ladder bar is, and this is a trick from way back, the more forward the car is picking up. The lever is lifting here. This is the pivot point. So short ladder bars lift back here. What happens if you lift at the back of a car? If this is your car, this is your rear end. If the ladder bar's here, it's gonna go like this, right? Mm-hmm. Gonna lift it up. If it's here, it's gonna lift it like that. Doesn't that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this finger is the car. If your ladder bar pivot point is just barely in front of the rear end, it does that. Well, it does plant the tires, but it basically throws the weight forward. If it's far forward, when you gas it, it lifts the whole car. So that's why these things would wheelie so much. But you got to think back in the day, all the racetracks were no prep. You know, the rubber that was down or the glue that was down was the rubber off of the tires from the people that ran before you. So they would make the ladder bars long. Some of them would go all the way to the front of the door. You look on old cars, you'll see that stuff long under there. That would transfer the weight. The thing is, back in those days, back in the mid 60s and stuff, coil-over shocks were just not really heard of. They had coil springs and shocks on some of them, but a lot of people, like I believe the real Stonewoods and Cook car, had leaf springs and long ladder bars to boot. So the problem you get into there, and we just experienced it, I was telling her about it and then we experienced it, is this rear end's hanging down, no weight on it. Well, this spring bows when it's down, rear end's like this. Well, it shortens the distance from here to here. So that effectively moves the rear end forward, which pushes this ladder bar forward. And so we had to jack it up, and that we could watch the holes, this bolt that I've got in here, we could watch the hole get further or the ladder bar go back toward the back of the car. So if you just make a pivot point here and you have a pivot point here, there's two different pivot points. Something's gonna bind. As the chassis moves, the suspension moves at all, you're gonna have something binding up. So what I did was I made a slot. You can see the slotted hole. It can move back and forth. What it's doing, the ladder bar is lifting the car I don't care that that has movement forward and aft. It's not suspending the car like a lot of ladder bars will actually be the suspension. If that was coilover back there, this ladder bar would be holding the rear end in place. You'd have a panhard bar from side to side. This would be front to back. The springs are actually holding the car up and locating the rear end. The ladder bars are just there to transfer weight. So as this car, if it squats, it's going to make the ladder bar move back, the pivot point. If you raise it on a lift, it moves the pivot point forward. So the way this works, and the reason it works, is because this is solid, this moves. The ladder bars are just like putting a lever underneath something and lifting it up. That's all they're doing. And that slot makes it work.
Has to have it.
Yeah, well, you're going to bind it up.
He was telling me that, and then as we went to put the bolts in, it didn't line up. It didn't work. And so that's why that jack is back there. So.
Yeah, and as a car reacts on the starting line and does its thing, without that, you might as well just put struts in the back of it, because it's going to be, something's binding. It's not happy.
And these are not tightened up like you were saying.
They've got nylock nuts or locking nuts, so they won't come out. But this ladder bar always will move in this slotted hole. Used to, when I drive this thing back down a return road and I've got my helmet off and the roads are usually rough, you could hear the ladder bars under here banging. But they are just a lever. They're just like putting a board underneath a engine and raising it up. So
very simplified.
Very interesting, but stupid. That's an old one. That's off of, I think, Hogan's Heroes. The German guard would say, very interesting. No, it was Sergeant Schultz. Very interesting, but stupid. No, Colonel Klink. Okay, I got it. For all you old guys out there.
That's
something like that. They'll tell you. You guys tell us what that is. That might have been off of one of the old shows, one of the old late night shows. Very interesting, but stupid.
Noted.
Very interesting, but stupid.
Big thank you to Speedway Motors for partnering on this 41 Willys project. So Speedway has been a great partner over the last couple years. We've worked with them on various projects, and this 41 Willys just made sense to partner with them on. So there's parts that we needed to refresh, parts that we needed to replace, and some parts that we just wanted to upgrade. Part of them have gone on or will go on in this video, and then other parts will go on at a later point. So starting here with these QA1 shocks, we got double adjustable shocks for front and rear. The fronts are on their way. We have this MSD 7AL2 Plus box, which is an upgrade or a fresh box from the one that we did have. We've got this new Aeromotive fuel pump. It is a 6 gallon per minute. We also have an Aeromotive fuel filter, which you will see to pair with that. We also have tail lights here, so that's something that's really nice about Speedway. They've got the tail lights and the gaskets, so when you're looking for projects like this, maybe nostalgia or like traditional hot rods, we find a lot of those parts here from Speedway, as well as an array of plenty of other go fast parts and great stuff like that. But that's something that they do really well with. We've also got two Optima batteries, red top batteries. We also have a trans cooler and fan, nice combination here. And we've also got some gaskets for the blower. So all good stuff. If you guys want the part numbers, they are going to be listed below in the description. Head over to Speedway Motors for all your needs. They'll get you covered. So thanks, Speedway, and back to the video. Okay, day number 2 of this. So we left off yesterday with getting the transmission buttoned up. We checked wheelie bars to make sure that they were going to fit, which they have to be modified because they got changed somewhere along the way. Fuel pump, we had an idea of what to do. Dad came in this morning and got that bracket built. He can tell you about that, but that's all good to go. Got a little bit distracted, a lot distracted, because after that, it was like, oh, okay, well, how do you plumb the rest of the system? I'll turn this around. We can talk to him, and then let's go from there. Okay, so one of the questions was, is everything left to plumb the system still there? Because it's not just lines and hoses.
So years ago when I parked this thing, I was pretty much over it, and I started robbing stuff off of it. And I don't remember what I robbed. I haven't remembered what I robbed. Some of it went bad because I didn't even drain the alcohol. I left it in it. So my mind has had many nights sleep since then and many bigger horsepower electronic cars on it. I couldn't remember. So this whole project's been bugging me because it's like we got to have multiple bypasses on here. There's little brass things. You want to show them?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So the fuel system is not just a couple hoses. This is it seems very complicated, but after we went through it, it got a lot easier.
We had to relearn. We had to reschool ourselves.
Well, I've never learned, so I had to learn. You had to relearn.
So you have, and luckily for me, I made lots of notes back in the day. Talked to people like Don and Reiki's back in 13 and made lots of notes, and I've got my original Hillborn instructions. But you know, like I say, I've slept since then. And I originally bought this injector for gasoline. So this pump was bought for gasoline, and we ran this pump with alcohol, and then I had a different pump, and I couldn't remember. But so I made this little holder later in the game that holds this idle bypass, but I couldn't even remember which bypass this was. You got idle, you got main bypass, which is the one that's got the pill in it. Then you got a secondary bypass for high RPM, which I thought I needed, I guess, back in the day, which is this one. But, you know, all these things kind of look the same. So this is a secondary bypass we probably won't even use.
Yep.
This is the primary bypass, which is screwed right in the side of the pump, which has a pill and a spring and some shims in there, plus this shim right here. This is a washer, but that's also a shim. So there's, what is that, 3 different things you can adjust, four different things that you can adjust for leaning this thing out. This one's just idle. And this is something that I made like 100 years ago. See this clicker here? Click, 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 click. All that's doing is screwing that high end in and out. But that's how you adjust idle richness. So instead of having to take it apart, turn the turnbuckle, and bolting it back together, I can click that and it just extends or shortens the turnbuckle, which is this barrel valve. So if it's blubbering fat at idle, you lean it out with this, and that's all it is idle, because as soon as you crack that throttle, the idle circuit dies, and then it goes into this.
Let's show them a barrel valve so they know.
This is the barrel valve.
Well, but like you had one out, didn't you? Right here.
So that was the gasoline barrel valve. So this is controlled. This is where the throttle linkage hooks to, and it does this. So when it's idling, fuel's going in here one way or the other. It comes out one side. Let's see what it actually does. So yeah, it goes in the hole. So at idle, fuel coming in would go in here. It goes this way. Goes in here, comes out, and goes through that idle bypass and back to the tank, because it's making more fuel pressure and volume than you need at idle. So this is bypassing through there, and it's only leaking into the 4 injectors on this side what you need, and that's controlled by this. So you can shut that down just a little bit, block some of that hole off, and make it leaner. And as soon as you accelerate, so let's see which way we actually turn this thing. As soon as you accelerate, you go into this circuit. This is the barrel valve part of it, and it opens it up, but it's pretty much open or closed. There's a very fine line in there where it's actually acting like a regulator or a metering device, because you normally stomp the throttle and you're into wide open throttle, or you shut it off. So that's what a barrel valve is in there. So anyway, we had to relearn that because I have forgot it, didn't even want to know about it again until she brought this car back into my life. And I was actually a little nervous. It's like, I don't want to relearn all this. I don't remember it. And this morning at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I was like, this is really going to be hard because I don't remember any of it. But I got my notes out, and with Alex's help, we sat down and added, and Debbie helped me look and figure out which valves were which, because I couldn't remember. And I've got multiple old units. This valve could have been out of an 8-stack Crowler, and I've got that stuff somewhere. But so we had to try to search through and figure out, well, this one had this pill in it and this spring in it, and that matches my last run. So it was like digging for needles in haystacks.
Definitely deciphering, but the more that we looked at it, do you have that diagram up there? The more I looked at it and thought about it, since the time that he's ran this, we've, like you said, we've been doing stuff with EFI, with that. And you think of this as not the same at all, but it's like, I had all these questions because it's like, you know, all the concepts over here. Well, those concepts still apply over here to how fuel works and how air works and where your peak power is. So when you start really looking at it, all of the tuning pieces, the springs, the shims, everything like that, do the same exact thing.
They're like your X and Y table on your laptop. Where did we have oh wait, I had a diagram.
Yeah,
Where
it's
is
just
that
the
diagram? It seems to be gone.
right here probably, yeah. But anyways, the more we thought about it, it's like, oh, you could tune this with this, and you use this to tune that. And oh, this is how a high speed like cutoff valve works or bypass valve, but at first it doesn't make sense until you really start thinking about it, and that's like, oh, this is not as bad as it seems.
So you got a spring in there, you've got shims behind the spring, and you've got a pill, okay, so which one do you use to do what? Well, when you start thinking about it, it becomes pretty clear pretty quick. The spring is pressure, so that's going to be related to RPM, which is related to the pump. The more RPM, the more pressure it has. The pill is the size of the hole that the fuel goes through. So obviously, the spring is related to RPM, which could be the position in the track, the hit or down track. And the pill is how much you want to get rid of. How much fuel do you want to bypass? The more fuel you bypass, the leaner the motor is. You put a smaller pill in it, then you're not bypassing as much, like putting your finger over the hose. You're building more pressure, which is going, the only other place for it to go is through the injectors. So a smaller pill makes more pressure, more volume, you get more fuel up here, but you regulate that with the spring for RPM, because that's pressure.
That's where it's interesting. So one thing is the pill, a smaller pill, you think of that like you're used to nitrous or something. You think a bigger pill more, but bigger pill is more of a leak, so it's less fuel. So it's actually backwards. But then the part that I kept getting hung up on was the bypass valve, because I kept asking, but why? Like I didn't understand the why you were bypass. I get like if you just think of it very simply, why? But where I got hung up was, well, what if you were to leave at 4,500 RPM and your bypass opened at 3,000 and then you stumble off the line? It's like, oh, that's where spring comes in. So anyways, it's a lot to explain. We've spent like 4 hours on it, but it all makes sense.
It's really, what I told her, I said, it's really cool that old guys, they weren't old in the day, but they didn't have the technology that we have now. They figured all this stuff out, how to do it with springs and orifices and pump speeds and pulley sizes that we do now with the laptop.
Yeah.
In order to change that spring pressure and that pill size, you type in different numbers, and it does it. It does it electronically.
The thing is, that's all much more precise, obviously, but like the concepts from there still apply here. The way the efficiency works with the motor, the way the motor's actually working, still applies here. It's just that even the stuff you're changing here is not as calculated or precise because it's based off pressure. So it's not like you can just be like, oh, this little spring is going to do this much this time, because it's going to depend on your combination. So that's where it still is kind of a guessing game in that sense.
Well, you have to fatten it up, make some passes, and lean it out until you're happy with it. But if you keep leaning it, you're going to be unhappy with it. But I think the biggest difference between that and this is kind of, the valve goes from 0 to full throttle. And that all the way through, all the time, no matter what position your throttle's in, it's different. It's calculating the fuel flow differently for each one of those positions. And this, as soon as you crack that barrel valve, you're pretty much wide open throttle the rest of the pass. And the motor doesn't need as much fuel up top as it needs when it's under load, even at the same RPM. So if you're accelerating 3,000 pounds at, let's just use 6,000 RPM, it takes more fuel than it does to go through the traps at, say, 6,000 RPM, where the motor's pretty much off of the load. It's not moving that much load. So the only way you can do that is set your secondary or high speed bypass up to open up there. So it's just really weird that it can all be done with springs, pills, and shims.
Yeah, so long story long, we basically feel much better about the whole system, and it's really not going to be that bad to plumb. There's just going to be, got all the line and fittings for it, or hose ends, and it's not going to be that much. And it actually kind of makes sense.
We're not afraid of it. Again, we've relearned, or I've relearned, and she's learned a lot. And one of the things by having her in my life, as opposed to when I did this the first time, is she's really good with tuning and understands it. And we can put this stuff together, and the two of us giving ideas and talking it out, it becomes really clear. I'm very clear on it again. It's like I'm ready to start this thing.
We're gonna fatten it up and start it up.
Yeah.
All right, so I got it pretty much wired up. Not really that big a deal. It's pretty much plug and play, or it could be, but this is the box that we went with, MSD 7AL2 Plus. Before, it had an MSD 7AL3 in there. So decided with fresh start here, we wanted to make sure we got all the new electronics. We don't have any questions when we go to start it up. But as you can see here, less strips for inputs compared to the 7AL3. So this was already labeled when this box came out of it, but this only has 2 inputs basically. Tack right here, and then you've got a 2-step rev limiter. So you've got 2 chips. So this right here is going to be what we're going to use for launch, so our trans brake, and then this will be our main rev limiter. But we have a couple more wires hanging here. So before, this one went to the line lock, or it goes to the line lock, and it came over here to one of these, I think it's right here, this number 4, which had a chip. So that way, in a burnout, had a rev limiter, because as Dad was saying, with the blower, it's just on and off. So it's good to have that rev limiter there. We don't have that option here. Also, the shift light that we had, or have in here, will not work with this because there's not an output for shift light, so we can't put a chip in there for that. But there are solutions. So Holly, MSD, is going to be sending over, I'll insert it here, they're going to be sending over a shift light where basically the chip is built into that, so we'll just pick up tack signal or input, output, I'm going to get that backwards, from here, and then the chip will be built into the shift light. There's also a box for that you could use where you can put chips in, or switch, MSD switch. Dad had one laying around, can't find it, but we're going to go with the shift light that has the chip, so they'll be sending that over. We'll get that wired up, which will take care of this. And then as for this, our thoughts right now, we're going to check it when we get a battery in the car, but this has to have, like, this is 12 volts into the box for this 2-step. So we're going to see if we can stack this, so that way this goes to the line lock again. So if this is sending 12 volts, we'll check it when we get the battery in, then we can stack that on there, and then our burnout and launch will be off of the same chip. So that way we at least have a safety there. So anyways, put a done stamp on it, revisit this later when we get a battery, but for the most part, that's all done and under control. Now I gotta do a trans brake button, which that'll be easy because it was just cut off before right there. So just connect that back up, and yeah, we'll be good to go. How's your project going?
I'm ready to button this up. I got all my rocker arms, my push rods. Rocker arms are adjusted, push rods in, putting valve covers on.
Nice.
So,
for real this time.
Yeah, it's gonna be wrapped up, and we're gonna put that heavy blower on here.
Nice.
That heavy hot air generator.
All right, so this is the blower to intake gasket that we got from Speedway. As you can see, making a slight modification. Why is that?
Because when I had just a gasket on this thing, it would have, I could tell it was leaking around the gasket. For whatever reason, it would not tighten down in the center. It's this kind of standard practice. It would blow and leak a little bit, and I don't want that. So I O-ringed that manifold many years ago. Well, back then I didn't really know what I was doing, I guess. And I put a round O-ring groove in here. So the gasket, the O-ring is honestly sitting in that O-ring groove.
So it doesn't give a place to squish.
Yeah, you have to have a square O-ring groove, so when you smash this blower down, it squeezes the O-ring into the corners, and that allows it to sit flush. If I do it right now, if I tighten the blower down, it's just gonna rock. It's gonna be sitting on top of that.
Because that O-ring has nowhere to go
Yeah.
and nowhere to compress. But then you might ask, why not just run the gasket instead of doing this?
Because we go back to the same problem we had on every blower I ever did. After you run, it'll run, it's fine, but when you take the blower off, you'll see in the gasket that it leaks.
So this...
And, you know, it's one of those things. So the O-ring will seal. What I'm doing here, what I did on this one, and I should have fixed this O-ring groove, but I forgot. It's been a long time. What I'm doing is I'm just using the gasket to hold it up a little bit. The O-ring can compress that much, and the gasket will be like spacers, the rest of it.
Because if he didn't, then having the O-ring there where it wouldn't compress, then this out here would potentially warp as it's
It'd be
tightening
putting
down.
stress on the blower case, because the O-ring's not going to smash down. It has to have somewhere to go, and that's the problem. An O-ring groove, and I've done lots and lots of them since then, but they have to be a square groove. Like,
because it fills the corners up, and that's...
let me see if we've got a valve cover here.
we do.
Some of the valve covers that we've made over the years. See this deeper O-ring groove?
Yeah.
Try to get that to focus. It's square cut. So when you put a round O-ring in there, you got two corners that are not. Let's take this out here and put a piece of O-ring in it. I actually got a little piece of O-ring off here. When you put this piece of O-ring in here, now let's see if we got something we can lay on there as a straight edge. Let's use a socket. So see the rock or the height that O-ring's holding that socket up? I can tighten the lid on this valve cover, or I'll put it right there. See, I can squeeze that down and it's solid against aluminum. It's solid, but if I raise it up, the O-ring holds it up off of it. So that gives it somewhere to go. If you put that O-ring in a round groove, and I don't have a pin.
It doesn't have a place.
Yeah, it has no place to go. Well, that was some of the first O-ring stuff that I did. I thought I had a pin, but so the groove is round, and the O-ring lays in that round groove.
Like this. Here.
There you go. If this is a section of O-ring, you got that. Where's the O-ring gonna go? If this, my fingers are the top of the aluminum, this is gonna hold the blower up like this. Now, if this O-ring groove was square, which I can't do that with my fingers, but if it came down square like that, when you push that down, it squeezes that O-ring into the corners of that groove. So that was just a mistake. That's what we're doing. I wouldn't even have pointed that out to you, but Alex wanted to do it.
No, I find that interesting. Somebody along the way will find that interesting. Plus, if you need this gasket, Speedway.
Yeah, this is fine. And most people would just run the gasket, but this is what we're doing because I don't like blower leaks. And I don't care, you're gonna say, some of you are gonna say, I've ran a blower for 48 years and I've never seen a leak there. Congratulations. I've run a blower since my first blower was 1980 on my Nova, and I've seen leaks on every one I've ever done. So maybe I've got bad juju, but they do leak, and So I'm just heading that off at the pass here.
Fair enough. Now, once that's on, it'll be time to drop the blower on, tighten it up for real this time, and that'll be cool.
Yep. So getting close to starting this puppy. Grab it. Oh, set it straight down. Just set it down. I'm gonna lift it back up.
Okay.
Can you lift that side up?
Yep.
Let's move it. Where's it? Something's hanging.
It's lined up.
It's hanging over here. Tip it forward. It's bent the piss out of that gasket.
Okay, it looked like something fell when we did that, and so I don't know.
Fell where?
Just tip it over and let me look. Okay, don't sit it down. I'm putting my hand in here. Oh, it's just a little piece of silicone.
So is that gasket still in the right place?
Yes, it is.
Ah, that's heavy.
Okay,
Stupid heat pump.
dumb heat pump.
That's a heat pump. That's what it does. All right, so that gasket is okay in there.
Yeah.
You could see both sides. It's just on the outside of the other room. Okay, we're ready.
That thing got a Hemi.
You want to update what Mika ate today?
I told Mika if she'd pose for an ad yesterday, she could have a burger, buy a burger. So she had a burger from Sonic, cheese tots, a piece of chicken that I dropped, and part of a chili cheese sauce.
And now she's laying there like that.
Good dog.
Don't leave me now, don't leave me then. Don't leave me now, don't leave me then.
That feels okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let it down. I'm gonna tighten this up. It's got so many springs on it because of the sketchy throttle on these things. And even with those springs, it's still gonna not idle.
Is there a way to bring the steering column back this way any?
We'd have to make an adapter, but we can.
Because if we could do that, then I can sit further back because my feet reach the pedals and I won't be so far away from the cage. Because like right now,
Yeah, we can put a extension on that before we drive. All right, so you're free to try it. I think everything's tight. It's rubbing the spark plug wires. I'll have to tie that up, but that's easy. Zip ties. I need to put the starter wires on, the steering back on.
Scare me.
You're way down.
I'm gonna have to raise up. I can't see squat.
Yeah, we'll have to jack the seat up.
I feel like you're in a big bubble.
Big old bubble butt Willys. There's a few things you have to do. We gotta hook the throttle, the fuel pump shut off up.
There'll be more to do before we go racing, but it'll be running and driving.
Yeah, it'll run tomorrow. I mean, think about it. We can go eat and go home after that. We gotta do oil, headers, we'll just throw those on. Steering shaft, starter, that's all 10 minutes. Then we gotta plumb it, and that's not too big a deal.
I'll do the trans brake while you're plumbing.
Then we raise it up, put a rear end in. They'll start tomorrow afternoon.
Cool. That is nice. All right, new day. So, fuel system is getting ready to start. The tank went on. Just imagine you saw that happen. Yeah? Yeah?
It's like 4 volts.
I know. I
don't think they care.
It is a big, but it's a big change. So anyways, that went on, and then trans brake wired, batteries in, And bad news is our Quick Performance third member, by no fault of Quick Performance.
It's MIA.
It's MIA. It's stuck on a dock in Little Rock. Yeah, so we are not getting a third member today, but kind of have a plan. So this plan is still to start this, which, as long as the fuel system isn't too terrible, the 2 clamps are right there.
And bolts too.
Down there. So as long as the fuel system's not too terrible, we'll still get it started today, as long as we have everything that we need, I guess I should say. But then we'll do a whole nother video getting it ready for racing, because, well, there's a lot more to do.
There's a
for
lot
that.
of still yet to do.
Yeah, so we'll get the third member in, but just know it's on its way. It's just UPS, you guys failed us for like 3 days now. Not nice.
Just want to give a shout out to Quick Performance. So they got our rear end, our third member to us for the Willys. I'm getting ready to go under there and put it in. They're always so good to work with. I can't say enough good about these guys. They just go above and beyond the call of duty. So if you guys need anything differential related, please give these guys a consideration, because they are super good people to work with. They never let us down.
All right, this is a big moment, right?
Excited.
Yeah, so I've already started putting fuel in it. Dad's got oil in it. We've got, he's doing transmission fluid right now. So it's not all the way done yet. We'll go over the race list, but we're gonna start it. We are gonna hear this bad boy come to life. And then later we'll have to do more race prep. We'll talk about that.
Hopefully we're gonna start.
You didn't, I mean, we're not as far along as necessarily we wanted to be, because we were missing stuff still, but it's further than you thought it was gonna be, right?
Yeah, I didn't think we'd get it running this week. So as long as it runs, we can finish the little details later. That's no big deal.
Yeah, it's like put a window in, and because like the back glass fell out with glue, with the parachute on, like stuff like that. So
Window net, raise the seat, move the steering wheel.
we can go ahead and talk about it right now. I made a list. You want to hear it? Bolt down the batteries. Put either a diaper or a belly pan. You need to put drain backs for the oil, catch can for the breather that was just installed. Insert a mesh gasket, which your ghost,
Which one?
the ghost of the shop,
Yeah.
we have misplaced a lot of
He's
stuff.
been very active today.
Very active, and we look for stuff constantly. We can't find it. This gasket, so you saw us put one on from Speedway, which was just this part, which worked. It's fine, it's great. It's great for half of that, but we wanted one too that had mesh here. That way if something comes in, it doesn't go directly through the blower. They didn't have that available. Anyways, he had one of these upstairs. I just ordered 2 of these. We need to put new seat belts. He's gonna drill out the wheels to put bigger studs back there. We need to install the third member. The blower needs restraints on it. Install the shift light, shifter bracket, parachute, move the steering wheel back, move the seat forward and up, window net, redo the headers, glue the rear glass, mount our awesome Mickey Thompson tires. We're gonna do that now, but we'll do that later. Burnout rev limiter, that's just connecting a wire. Trans cooler lines, simple, right now it's looped. Shocks front and rear, you got any more questions?
It's a long list.
It's not as bad as it seems. It's not as bad as it seems, right?
They're tired of hearing you.
Well, I'm tired of saying it. Look at the list.
I know what that list is.
It's not that bad, right?
No, it's all small stuff.
Yeah.
So now it's just a matter of making it run. I think we're really close. So
It's been 10 years. Meg and I were talking. We're wondering, is this like a cat where it doesn't know how long it's like time has passed?
it's been in hibernation.
Or
Wait,
does
what do
it-
they call it? Purgatory.
No, it's totally
It's 2
different.
different things.
No, it went to purgatory.
It's
Oh.
He's a good guy now. But then we're like, like, or is it gonna roll outside and be like, this was a dollar store across the shop when I was outside last time.
Yeah, now it's your shop.
Yeah.
He'll end up over there for a while on your lifts.
Yeah.
Get him out of my sight.
That's
That
only
probably
so.
just jinxed everything.
I feel like I have to hide cars so people don't sell them. I'm gonna try to get him out of your sight so you don't want to sell him. I had Nick hide his Camaro in California so he forgets about it so he doesn't sell it.
Let's start this thing.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. It's a big moment, people. We already said this just a few seconds ago, but after 10 years, it's gonna start.
We hope.
It
I mean,
is.
there's some chance the ignition's not right or something, you know, timing. Ideally, we'll just squirt it and it'll start.
That's what it's gonna do.
Okay.
So it's actually a pretty big deal. 10 years. Is this that whole will it start? But it's actually got
It
every
is.
reason.
Will it start? It's a will it start. We should make a video just of this.
Willys start.
Will he start? Good point. I like that. I see what you did there. She's on a roll today.
I made 2 jokes today. That was a good one.
No, you made a lot of jokes today. You just made 2 funny ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got funny ones today. 2 funny ones.
Yeah, so we're gonna start it, and we'll talk to you after that. That's the goal.
It has fuel, it has oil, it has transmission fluid, no coolant. Hopefully all the lines don't leak.
Yeah, so we can talk about the startup process. You'll see here. So grab the bottle. You can show them. So with this, to kill the car, we would have to you have a shut-off valve, fuel shut-off valve inside the car. It's not hooked up right now. So that'll be out here to control that and shut that down.
You can actually shut it down with the ignition as well. That's not the way you'll do it on a drag strip.
That's what we talked about the other day.
Because when you shut it off with the ignition, as long as the engine's still spinning, coming down, it's still pumping fuel. It doesn't have electronic fuel. So ideally you'll shut it off with the fuel, which I can do right here if I want to get that close to it.
Do you?
If it's not running away like a Detroit diesel.
I gotta check this. I don't know what to do actually.
Jump in. I don't remember either. There's 2 ignition switches.
I saw that. It's kind of confusing.
Well, I think that's back in the mag days.
Start.
This new lift has a little bit of an issue right there.
Yeah, it does. Okay. Woo! Can't see. Okay. All right. So there's ignition on, off, and then power on.
Just
off.
turn them both on because I don't remember if that one. I think that one's just mag, probably. That one. So it should be ready.
I'm kind of nervous.
Just push the button and crank it. It's not going to do anything because there's no fuel in it. I just want to hear it crank. Let me give it a squirt.
Scared. Okay.
Okay, let her rip, Tater Chip.
Do I give it any gas? Or
No. Well, why did it try and then die? Go ahead.
Okay, I'll do the throttle.
No. It hadn't got fuel yet. Keep going. Go. Can you see oil pressure?
Yeah, it's over 60.
Okay, that's what we want. So it still hadn't picked up fuel yet, but hopefully it is. Go
Okay.
again. Still not running on its own, so we gotta check that out. Let me see, I'm gonna take the lid off and see if it's returning fuel. There's somewhat of an issue there, but at least most of it's right.
How cool.
Yeah, let's see, I'll
I'll
hold
come out here. Hang on. Do you want me to?
No, we gotta start it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good?
Yep. I see something going on in there.
Did we do the leak down and everything with the barrel?
No, but it should be enough to keep it running. All that, it's all set up just like it was when it last ran. Hopefully it's not got some dirty lines or something. Let's try, I might put methanol in here. We'll run it a little bit on gasoline.
Okay, good.
Go ahead. Let me convert this to methanol. Where is the gasoline can? The white one?
Right there. It's so cool.
Yeah, sounds good. It's just we gotta figure out what's going on with the fuel.
This is gonna be a wild one. I mean, it's not that much, necessarily that much power. It's 1,000 horsepower-ish. But like, again, we don't necessarily choose aerodynamic stuff.
You look very small in here.
We're gonna have to fix that. We'll have to fix that. Well, it kind of starts.
It's still not picking up. We may have to do a leak down on it. Let me crank it open some more.
Because it's at least, the pump has to be working. It's like it's just not getting there. It's like it's bypassing it, right?
Yeah, pump's gotta be working. It's just, I'm not real sure. Try one more time. If that pump's running backwards.
Oh, it's like pumping return into the return?
Yeah, because if you don't do those pumps right, you know, they can run either direction. There's nothing moving in the fuel tank. So we need to check that out.
We'll be back. All right, take 2. But that was really good.
It ran, and it would have been fine. But when we took the, you know, there's a chance that the fuel pump's upside down. It can spin 360 degrees, so it'll only run one direction, pump one way. So I took it loose with no fuel in it, turned it over. We're about to start it again, see what happens.
That was really good for the first. That means the ignition and all that, it's really promising. So now we go for a second one. Oh, make us pissed.
Turn that barrel valve down. It's fat now. Had no idea where we were at. Let's try that, see what happens. Almost what?
Shutting it down like that's almost as cool as starting it because it's like a real like.
Yeah, you love it. It's like a drag strip.
It feels like a fuel car, like it's at a tackle fest.
It basically is. If it had a little nitro mixed in there, it'd be a top fuel car. A little too much compression. Yeah. So every fitting, every O-ring on it is leaking. Not up here, but down here. So we'll have to do some O-ring work on the pump. But I think that's good.
It's gonna be so
That
fun.
was a success. Yeah, you get to nail it like that.
I know. I feel like I have learned so much in the last 3 days. So much about old school stuff.
Well, the thing is that it all kind of enlightens you as to what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you understand this, you understand that even better.
But even understanding that, I can understand that. Like, it's all so
Well, that's
similar.
true. It makes this, you understand the mechanical, totally different, but the same.
I actually fear that this may be fun.
Problem is, there's no place to race it. You know, we have to go way off to the East Coast. We have to put the mag back, which is no big deal. I think if the magneto was put back, of course, most of those guys over there want stick shifts, and you don't want a stick shift with that.
Well,
When they got the AA fuel or AA gas, they were B&M hydros for the most part. So there's not really a place to race it, but you can go have fun with it.
yeah. Go to maybe Mocam or Tulsa or just to test and tune. It could, unfortunately, it could be fun.
It could be fun. Okay,
It
start it one
seems
more time.
fun. Okay, yeah, that sounds fun too.
It can't run for a long time. It's up to temperature, but it's okay. It needs
Does this
to run.
temperature gauge work?
Just that's oil temperature.
Oh. It had about 75 pounds of oil pressure.
That's good. Go. It sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah. I kind of forgot what it sounded like.
That's so weird. Who is gone?
That thing does sound freaking awesome.
It's so awesome. That doesn't bug Mika at all.
It's because she hasn't seen it leave in her whole life.
Why would she not be just freaked out by that?
I don't think it's the sound. I think that she knows the 55 leaves and she gets left sometimes.
It sounds really good. I think it's very happy. It just needs some O-rings. So, O-rings and drive shaft and third member and a few other parts, and it's ready to go do wheelies.
I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Okay. I've never done more than a baby wheelie. And it's
When
pretty
you
cool.
when you stab this one on any kind of prep track, it's gonna go just like that. The front wheels, the way the wheelie bars used to be adjusted, 30 inches probably.
We do 15 first.
We can probably lower it down a little.
Okay, well then, I think, it feels very HRG, but I think that's a wrap.
I think so.
I think that's a wrap on this
I say
episode.
that's a success.
I think it's great.
Yep.
That's the most it's, technically, when we get the third member, it will be, I mean, you can start it
Drive
up
it.
and drive around the shop if
We
you
can
want.
do a wheelie out in the street.
You could.
I'm gonna turn the master off.
He's
Well, I'm
gonna
thinking
like it.
about it.
He's not gonna want to sell it. Okay, so there'll be plenty more to come from this because obviously, like, we can't stop there. So we will be doing another episode. There'll be an episode on Dad's channel. He's gonna build the headers for this. So that'll be on his channel. We have to prep it for going to the race because we went over that list earlier. And we also have, I mean, we got to take it and test it. You should probably come in here. So, headers on your channel. We got to prep it for the race. That'll be on one of our channel. We'll let you know. And going to test it. And so, like, then who knows what else we'll want to do with it.
Headers, wheels, I'll probably take you along with the wheels because there's a lot of
Yeah,
modifications
headers,
there.
wheels,
Studs.
yeah, like that. And we got to put our fresh set of Nikki Thompson tires on
Yep.
here. So that'll happen. Quick performance, you might put the third member in, but whatever the case is, there'll be plenty more to come from this. Couple thanks to Speedway Motors,
Oh yeah.
because they supplied a lot of parts for this. Speedway is really good for your nostalgia / traditional
Hot
stuff
rods.
like this, like hot
Yeah.
rods like this, like the 34, this. So
We couldn't have built the Roadster without Speedway.
yeah, that too. Yeah, so really good. Like they're great for that. They have a lot of other stuff as well, but that's where we find ourselves
That's where we shop when we need
for
traditional parts.
like nostalgia type stuff. So thanks to them. Thanks to Mickey Thompson. You haven't seen their tires yet, but they'll be on here. Quick performance. You haven't seen that yet. Not
Iski
their
cams.
fault. Iski cams.
Got the new cam in it, new lifters,
Yep.
new push rods.
And then I had GearStar. Duh.
Oh yeah, big one.
Big power glide help there. So yeah, thanks to all those guys. Holly will be pitching in here with MSD, shift lights, and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Plenty more to come. That's a success. My ears are ringing in the best way possible.
Mine ring all the time. They're a little louder right now.
Crap.
Sounds like crickets.
That's what it sounds like?
Oh, all the time.
Not fun.
You want to wear ear protection because you don't want this.
Except once in a while.
But you do want to come back and watch her make passes in this thing.
And watch him.
It's very
modify it.
exciting.
All right. As always, be happy, go fast, stay pretty. We will see you guys next time.